Welcome to Quaderno Academy, empowering excellence through education. Join us as we inspire growth and unleash your potential. Let's dive in.
I have a bit of a confession to make as we start this deep dive today. I think I've been doing this whole leadership thing completely wrong for a really long time.
Really? How so?
Well, it's not just at work. I mean, it's at home too. I just feel like I'm constantly stuck in this trap.
What kind of trap? Like a management style thing?
Yeah, exactly. The nice guy versus the bad guy trap. It just always feels like those are my only two options, right? If I'm the nice guy, everybody likes me, the vibe is great, but things get sloppy, deadlines slip, the kids leave their socks on the floor.
Right. You have really high relationships, but low standards.
Exactly. So then I panic, I swing the pendulum all the way to the other side, and I become the bad guy, the authoritarian.
Yeah.
You know the whole, because I said so routine, do it now.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
The socks get picked up.
Yeah.
But the room goes ice cold.
Yeah. Everyone secretly hates me.
Well, that is the classic dilemma. It's the tension between being loved and being feared.
Yeah.
I mean, Machiavelli wrote about this 500 years ago, and we are still stressing about it today. Most leaders just bounce back and forth between those two poles until they just burn out.
Which is exactly why I was so desperate to get into this stack of sources today, because the core promise here for you listening home or on your commute is that there is a third option, a third alternative.
It really is a complete reframe of the whole concept.
Yeah.
The material we're diving into today argues that the choice between being nice and being tough is actually a false dichotomy. You just don't have to choose.
But that sounds like magic. Have your cake and eat it too. How do you actually pull that off?
It starts by understanding the difference between formal authority and moral authority. So formal authority is the badge. It's the title on your door. People follow you because they have to. If they don't, you fire them.
Or you ground them.
Right. Exactly. Moral authority is completely different. It's when people follow you because they want to, because they trust you. And you cannot demand moral authority. You can only earn it.
Okay, so let's get practical here. Because moral authority sounds great in a textbook, but what does that actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon when your team is totally screwing up?
Well, the sources give us the absolute perfect example of this. It's the story of Charles Schwab.
Oh, I love this story. It is so simple, but the more I thought about it, the more genius it seemed.
Set the scene for us.
Okay, so Charles Schwab, titan of the steel industry, is walking through one of his mills. He goes into a warehouse and he sees a group of his employees sitting there smoking.
Which is a massive safety hazard, obviously.
Huge hazard, but it gets worse. They are smoking directly underneath the sign that says, "No smoking," in giant bold letters. I mean, it is a flagrant violation. They're basically mocking the rules.
So pause right there. If you are the boss and you walk into that wood, what do you do?
Well, going back to my trap, the nice guy in me probably just pretends I didn't see it. I keep walking to avoid the conflict.
Which basically tells them the rules don't matter at all.
Right. But the authoritarian in me, and let's be honest, this is probably what I would actually do, walks over, points at the sign, and screams, "Can't you guys read?"
Yeah, you humiliate them, you enforce the rule, but you completely destroy the relationship. You make them feel small.
So here is what Schwab did, and this is the third alternative. He walks over to the men. He doesn't yell, doesn't point at the sign. He just reaches into his pocket, pulls out a handful of expensive cigars, and hands one to each of the men.
And here comes the best line.
He smiles and says, "I'd appreciate it, boys, if you'd smoke these on the outside."
It is so brilliant.
It's a Jedi mind trick. Think about what he just did. He caught them red-handed. They know that he knows they were breaking the rules.
But he didn't lower himself to scolding them like children.
No, he gave them a gift.
But he also upheld the standard. He didn't say smoking is okay. He said smoke these outside.
Yeah.
He preserved the relationship and the demand simultaneously.
That's the key phrase right there, isn't it? Preserve the relationship and the demand. Usually we sacrifice one for the other. Schwab proved you can do both.
And think about the loyalty that buys. If he had yelled at them, they would have put the cigarettes out, waited for him to leave, and lit up again, just to spite him. But because he treated them with real dignity, they probably never smoked in that warehouse again. That is moral authority.
Okay, I'm totally sold on the concept. But Schwab was a legend. For the rest of us, normal people, how do we actually build the kind of environment where that interaction is even possible? Because if I tried that out of the blue, I feel like my team might just think I'm being passive-aggressive.
Well, it requires a foundation. And the sources are very clear on what that foundation has to be. It's psychological safety. You cannot have the third alternative if your people are terrified of you.
And this brings us to some data that I actually had to read twice because it just didn't make any sense to me at first.
You're talking about the Amy Edmondson study.
Yes. So 1999, she's studying nursing units in hospitals. Now, logically, if I asked you which hospital unit is the best, you would say the one with the fewest mistakes.
Right.
That seems like the obvious metric. 0 errors equals high performance.
But that is not what she found. She found that the high-performing units, the absolute best teams, reported more mistakes than the low-performing units.
Which sounds completely backward. Why would the best teams be making more errors?
That is exactly what I thought. I'm reading this thinking, remind me not to go to that hospital.
But you have to look closer at the data. They weren't making more mistakes. They were reporting more mistakes. In the low-performing units, the culture was fear-based. If you made an error, say you almost gave a patient the wrong pill, you hid it. You swept it under the rug because you didn't want to get yelled at or fired.
So the silence was actually hiding the danger.
Exactly. In the high-performing units, they had psychological safety. A nurse could say, hey, I almost messed this up, or the label on this bottle is confusing. And because they spoke up, the team could fix the system so it didn't happen again to someone else.
So the error rate wasn't a measure of incompetence, it was a measure of honesty.
Precisely. If you are a leader and you never hear about mistakes from your team, it doesn't mean your team is perfect. It means they are terrified to tell you the truth.
That is a deeply chilling thought.
And this leads us to the Wernher von Braun story. This is the ultimate example of how a leader handles a massive mistake.
Wernher von Braun, the rocket scientist. We're talking NASA Redstone missiles, real high stakes.
Extremely high stakes, millions of dollars national security, and one day a test missile just goes haywire. It crashes. It's a total catastrophe. The press is swarming. Politicians are calling for heads to roll. It's a nightmare.
And right in the middle of this, a low-level engineer walks into von Braun's office.
Imagine the guts that took.
Seriously. He walks in and says, it was me. I caused the short circuit. The crash is my fault.
Now play the bad guy boss here. What do?
I mean, I fire him, right? He just destroyed a missile. If I don't fire him, doesn't that send a message that massive incompetence is okay? Isn't that falling back into the nice guy trap?
That's what everyone expected. But von Braun didn't fire him. The next day, he calls a team meeting. He wheels in a cart, and on the cart is a bottle of hearts of champagne.
Champagne. For the guy who crashed the rocket.
He hands the bottle to the engineer in front of everyone.
Okay, play devil's advocate for a second. Isn't that rewarding failure?
No, because von Braun knew the difference between a mistake and a sin. He told the team by admitting this immediately, this man saved us a year of forensic investigation. We know what went wrong, and we can fix it today.
He was rewarding the speed of the truth.
Exactly. He said absolute honesty is something you simply cannot afford to dispense with. If that engineer had been afraid, if he had tried to cover his tracks, the entire program might have been set back years.
Which is exactly what happened with the Vasa.
Oh, the Vasa.
Yeah.
The complete anti-von Braun story.
I had never actually heard of this ship, but it is a tragic comedy. 1628. The King of Sweden wants the biggest warship ever built. 2 decks of heavy cannons.
You wanted a floating fortress.
The problem was the shipbuilders knew it wouldn't work. The physics were just wrong. It was way too top-heavy.
They knew it was going to sink.
So why didn't they say anything?
Because the king didn't provide psychological safety. He had a literal kill the messenger culture. If you told the king his design was bad, you risked your life. So the shipbuilders just built it.
They built a ship they knew would kill people just because they were afraid of the boss.
The source material says they were actually planning their escape routes before the launch.
That is terrifying.
And sure enough, the Vasa launches. It sails less than 1,000 yards. A light breeze hits it and it tips over and sinks. Takes 28 sailors down with it.
Well, because not a single person could say, hey, boss, this is a bad idea.
That is the cost of fear. You might get compliance in the short term, but eventually the ship sinks.
Okay, so we definitely need safety. But safety doesn't mean we just let people do whatever they want. We still have to give feedback. We still have to correct people when they're wrong. And this is where the biology gets in the way.
The biology of criticism is fascinating.
The source tells this story about his wife giving him feedback, and it is painfully relatable. They're walking home from a dinner party, and she stops him. She makes him promise not to get mad, which is always the universal signal for, I am about to destroy your ego.
How nothing good ever follows, promise you won't get mad.
And she tells him, honey, you eat really weird.
The wood chipper incident.
Apparently, he was shoveling food in, using one hand, getting it on his face, just a total mess. And she told him, because she saw their friends giving each other a look at the table, she was trying to protect him.
She was doing it out of love. She didn't want him to embarrass himself at an upcoming client lunch.
But what was his reaction? Was it gratitude? No, he got super defensive. I don't eat weird. You're just jealous of my appetite.
That right there. That is the amygdala. That is your limbic system completely taking over.
The lizard brain.
Yes. See, our brains are wired for survival. When someone tells us we are wrong, even if it's just about table manners, the brain interprets that as a literal threat. It doesn't distinguish between you hold your fork wrong and there's a tiger trying to eat you.
So we literally go into fight or flight over dinner etiquette.
We do. We freeze. We defend. And here is the crucial part for anyone listening who manages people. You physically cannot learn when you are in the limbic system. Your brain is diverting energy to defense, not comprehension.
So all those times I've used the sandwich method, compliment, critique, compliment, I'm just wasting my breath.
Usually, yes. Because as soon as you hit the meat of the sandwich, the criticism, the listener's shutters come down. They don't hear the nice things you say afterwards. They're just thinking about how to prove you wrong.
So how do we bypass the lizard brain then? How do we give feedback without triggering that defense mechanism?
You have to change the focus. The source brings up Tom Landry, the legendary coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He did something completely revolutionary.
He stopped showing game tape of mistakes, right?
Right. Most coaches spend Monday morning forcing the team to watch every missed tackle, every dropped ball. It's a shame session. Landry stopped doing that. He created a highlight reel for each player instead.
So he just showed them the good stuff?
He showed them their personal version of excellence. He would find a clip where the player did it perfect form, perfect tackle, and say, this is you. This is what you're capable of. Do this again.
That is a subtle shift, but it's huge. He's not saying you're terrible. He's saying, look how good you are when you do it right.
And that completely bypasses the limbic system. It's not a threat, it's a blueprint. It's aspirational. You aren't fighting the coach. You are trying to live up to the image on the screen.
It builds confidence instead of shame.
And it builds moral authority. Because now the coach is a guide to your success, not just a critic of your failure.
Okay, so we have safety. We have positive feedback. But there's one more pillar we have to talk about, and this one is the hardest. It's reliability.
The source compares this to Old Faithful versus Steamboat Geyser.
Yeah, I didn't actually know this. Steamboat Geyser is way bigger than Old Faithful. It's massive, but nobody goes to see it.
Because you can't rely on it. It might erupt tomorrow, or it might take 50 years. Old Faithful isn't the biggest, but you can set your watch to it. In leadership, reliability beats intensity every single time.
And this leads us to the golf story. I honestly think this is the emotional anchor of the whole deep dive. If you really want to understand moral authority, you have to understand this story.
It's an incredibly powerful moment.
So the speaker's sister is a professional golfer. This is back in the day. She's young, she's grinding. She's playing in a tournament with a $10,000 first prize.
Which was huge money for her. Life-changing.
And her dad is the head official for the tournament.
The setup is almost Shakespearean.
She's winning. She's on the 17th hole. She misses a tiny putt, maybe 4 inches. She's frustrated, so she just walks up, taps the ball, picks it up, and walks off the green without properly holing out.
Which is a clear violation of the rules. You have to hole out.
But it's 4 inches. It's a gimme. But technically, she broke the rule. Later, the other girls in her group go to the official, her dad, and tell him what happened. He calls his daughter over.
And he asks, did you finish the hole? And she admits she didn't.
And then she gives him the look.
Every parent knows the look.
It's the daddy please look. She pouts. She appeals to his heart. She's basically saying, come on, Dad, it was 4 inches. I won this. Don't take this $10,000 away from me over a technicality.
And think about the temptation for the father. No one would really care if he let it slide. It's a victimless crime. He loves his daughter. He wants her to succeed.
But he looks at her and he says, I'm sorry, you're disqualified.
That had to be devastating in the moment.
But wait, it gets crazier. He didn't just disqualify her. He disqualified the other girls in her group, too.
Scorched earth. Why?
Because they saw a rule violation and didn't report it immediately. They waited until later, so they were complicit. He wiped out the whole group.
That sounds incredibly harsh. I mean, if my dad did that to me, I'd be furious.
That's what I thought. But here is the twist. Years later, the speaker asks his sister about that day. Did you hate him for that? And she said, are you kidding? That moment is the reason I trust him more than anyone on earth.
I don't think he's ever done a dishonest thing in his life.
That's the quote. She realized that if he wouldn't lie for his own daughter for $10,000, he would never lie to her either.
That is the high cost of integrity. It cost them money in the short term. It caused pain. But it bought a lifetime of absolute trust.
That is moral authority. You know that person is solid rock. You can build a house on that kind of character.
And when you have that kind of authority, you can lead people through hell.
Which brings us to the final example, Ernest Shackleton, the Endurance Expedition.
If we were talking about leading through hell, this is literal.
1914, Shackleton takes a crew to cross Antarctica. Their ship gets trapped in the ice and crushed. Gone. They were stranded on floating ice packs for months. No radio, no rescue coming, freezing to death.
By all rights, they should have devolved into complete chaos. Mutiny, cannibalism, despair.
But they didn't. Every single man survived. How?
It wasn't because Shackleton barked orders. It was because he shared the hardship.
He ate what they ate.
He slept where they slept. When they ran out of food and had to eat penguin meat, he didn't take the best cuts. In fact, there's this great story about the penguin.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
They were starving. The penguins wouldn't come near the camp. So Shackleton takes the shortest man on the crew, dresses him up in a black suit, and has him waddle around on the ice to lure the penguins in.
It's absurd.
It's totally ridiculous, but imagine the scene. You are freezing, you are terrified, and there is your captain orchestrating this hilarious puppet show just to get you dinner.
It leveled the hierarchy. He wasn't the officer and they weren't the grunts. They were in it together.
The source says they followed him because he put them first. He gave his own rations away. He stood guard so others could sleep. That is the ultimate third alternative. He didn't demand loyalty. He served them until they wanted to follow him anywhere.
So we have these huge examples. Shackleton on the ice, von Braun with the champagne, the dad with the $10,000 ruling. But for you listening right now, driving to work or folding laundry, what do we actually do with this?
I think the speaker sums it up beautifully with the dream he had about his daughter.
The cliff dream.
Yeah. He dreams he is on these red cliffs with his little girl, and she is walking dangerously close to the edge.
And his instinct, like any parent or any boss, is to use force.
He uses his dad voice.
Yeah.
He screams, "Get back." He lunges at her to grab her.
But in the dream, the physics are reversed. Every time he uses force, every time he pushes toward her, she rebels. She takes a step back, closer to the edge.
The more he tries to control her, the more he drives her into danger. It's a nightmare.
And then he realizes he has to do the counterintuitive thing. He stops. He takes a step back, away from her.
And she follows him. She steps away from the edge to be with him.
It's such a perfect metaphor for everything we've talked about today. Force creates resistance. If you push people, push back.
But if you lead, if you create safety, if you show reliability, if you demonstrate care, people naturally want to follow you to safety.
So does that mean we just stop managing? We just step back and hope for the best?
No. It means we change how we manage. And the speaker leaves us with one final image. The painting in the office.
Brushstrokes.
Yes. He says leadership isn't usually one big, heroic Shackleton moment. It's not a movie. It's a painting made of thousands of tiny brushstrokes.
It's handing out the cigars instead of yelling. That's a brushstroke.
It's giving the champagne for the mistake. It's disqualifying the putt. It's the highlight reel instead of the criticism.
It's the small things you do every single day that paint the picture of who you are.
And the good news is, if you have been the bad guy boss or the nice guy pushover, you can change the painting. You just start adding different brushstrokes today.
That is our challenge to you listening. You don't have to become Shackleton by lunchtime. Just pick one brushstroke. Handle one mistake with curiosity instead of anger. Give one piece of feedback that builds someone up instead of tearing them down.
Because eventually, formal authority runs out. The badge comes off.
Yeah.
But moral authority, that lasts forever.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've discussed. We've spent this whole time talking about how to get moral authority over others, but think about the person in your life who has moral authority over you.
That's a great flip.
Right. Picture the person you respect more than anyone. I guarantee they don't have that authority because of their title. They have it because at some point when you expected a yell, they handed you a cigar. And the beautiful thing is becoming that kind of leader for someone else doesn't just change them, it fundamentally changes who you are.
It forces you to grow into the person they already trust.
Exactly. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Go paint a better picture. We'll see you next time.